Yungblud dropped his third studio album, Yungblud, and uh, we talked about Yungblud back in 2020 when he dropped Weird. And from what I recall from our review, Dave, was like there's some interesting stuff here, but for the most part, it felt a little flat for us. Would you say that is correct?
Yeah, I agree. I think Youngblood, to his credit, did kind of predate this more mainstream rock wave we're seeing in pop music. He was ahead of this,
Mhm.
but it also didn't seem like he had a clear musical identity on Weird. Weird is an album that isn't actually as weird as you would expect given the title. That was kind of my lasting feeling. But he's always been someone that has at least intrigued me a little bit because I think he does have a noticeable voice. As a person, he does kind of look unique as well. Like there's just something about him that makes him feel like an artist. I guess I don't know. And I will admit I do enjoy his song Machine Gun Kelly. I think I'm okay. I think that one's pretty good. One of the better rock songs MGK's made, honestly. But I'm still been kind of waiting for like the what's next for Youngblood after that song Parents from his first record. I've still been waiting for like what is next. And now he's in a musical landscape where using rock music overtly in your mainstream pop music is not only accepted but it's common. He has
Mhm.
Willow Smith on this record. She's doing that the best of almost the best out of anyone these days, right? So I was just kind of curious to hear, well, what is another Youngblood album sound like now? Because we're just in a different time.
Did you feel like Young Blood, this his newest album, did anything to change your opinion of him?
That's a great question. I'm not sure, honestly. I think there's a bit more personal lyrics
Hmm.
on this, but I still think sonically he's still a bit all over the place for me. Like there were a few moments where I was like, we're getting a little '80s here. I thought you
Hmm.
were probably above this as someone who predated the '80s wave we hear in pop every single week. Guess not. Um, but yeah, no, I think that this one's all right. I think this will probably be pretty well received by his fans, honestly.
Yeah, I think for his fans this will be very well received, and he's really in his feelings a lot in this, which I'm totally like okay for if that's what he wants to write about, if that's how he wants to go about making these songs, it's fine. I think my biggest like critique is a lot of these songs, especially when it comes to like the beat, the percussion on it, just really felt very generic and kind of like down the middle. Like the
Mm.
first two songs, the funeral and tissues, outside of the build up around the chorus, those songs could have just been like part one, part two almost. And the drums on that are like the most basic, like boom bap, like a beat that you could ever really think of for a rock song. That being said, I thought the songs were like kind of catchy and fun. I think I preferred Tissues a bit more. It gave me more of like a Smiths type feel to it,
Mm.
and I think that's that '80s vibe
Yeah.
you're talking about. Um, but I prefer that to kind of what we get in the back half of this album, where it gets a lot more toned down, a little bit more soft, like in his feelings. Songs like "Don't Feel Like" like "Feeling Sad Today" and things like that. Just really lost my interest by the second half. I thought the first half was a little bit more palatable
Mm.
for me. Did you have that same experience or?
Yeah, I think so. I thought Funeral, the chorus was a bit catchy. No, nobody
Mhm.
came. What a shame, shame, shame. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm rocking
Yeah.
with it here. I think Memories though is really fun because I think Willow is a really nice contrast to him.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny too because like she definitely has more bite for this kind of sound that Youngblood does too, which is like I think there's always been like a bit of like Schadenfreude about Youngblood and like how genuine he is with this kind of stuff, and it is kind of hilarious to hear someone like Willow Smith, who didn't used to make rock music either, but come in and almost sound even more convincing at this sound than he does. He really, like you said, really seems to be into the sad boy stuff on
Yeah.
this, which is not, I think, out of character for him from his past work
No.
necessarily. Um, but that being said, I think it really kind of depends on the production for me, like you said. Like don't go, and don't feel like feeling sad today back to back. I just thought the tempo on those ones were pretty solid, but like lyrically, I was just not really into it. Um, Sex Not Violence, though, did you figure out what that sample or interpolation was? Because that is like really similar to like I saw some people thinking it was like Pat Benatar or something. I wasn't really sure what that was, but you know when you hear it, kind of thing.
You know what I think it is actually, and you're gonna laugh. I think it's One Direction.
Oh man,
Just how fast
it's
the
Harry,
night
isn't it?
changes. It's like,
Oh
isn't
man.
it crazy just how fast the night changes? Fucking
So it's
banger.
Bowie, is what it is.
Yeah, probably. Also, a TikTok fucking standout right there. So I don't blame him for going for it. I just want
Yeah.
to clean one thing up. The song I was thinking about in the back half that was toned down was "Die for Tonight," not
Mhm.
"Don't Feel Like Feeling Sad Today." That one's just more stripped back, kind of like "I Cried Too." Those were the two
Yeah.
that were like slower tempo that I didn't really enjoy. Yeah, you know, he definitely is in his feelings. I agree with you on Willow. I think Willow was like a shot of adrenaline to this, and the beginning of the album is pretty electric to begin with, and it starts to kind of vary through from there. I just don't know if maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe I'm not the right audience for it. I think probably like I would guess like teenagers into like young adulthood would really vibe with this more. I think as people who are a little bit out of that stage of our life, it's probably not as easy to relate to these
Yeah.
lyrics. I'd say.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like in terms of like honing in on the sound, it was just kind of strange to me because we had just heard his feature on the Demi Lovato album on
Right.
Freak, where he was like way more edgier and like harder on that than he is on any of his own songs.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, clearly this is what he was feeling these days, but that's okay, I guess. Looking forward to the Willow album coming out in 2 weeks.
I'm very excited for the Willow album.
Call it a vibe.
Yeah, so check out our Nostalgia Best of 2022 playlist where we'll be putting maybe a Youngblood song on there.